really good question. By the way, you are such a good interviewer. All of your questions are solid questions.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
I've had my fair share of like, is that a cell phone? And then I have to come back into my world, you know.
I had to read lines, and I was like, I don't do that.
And I always start my songwriting with lyrics.
Here I have over 200 people to feed almost solely, you know.
I got to shout out Mark. He gave me that idea. Thank you, man.
And show the graphic images of those children.
Mm-hmm.
God, yes!
That's exactly it.
Yes!
I feel like we've all had this experience.
Everyone's gonna get the picture or they're not. So everyone was really, really nice.
And I wanted to do something a bit more direct.
Susanna, do you want to do a documentary? And she's like, yes. I'm like, great. Here you go.
Wow.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts Media, based here in Seattle, Washington. And thank you so much for joining me on this Tuesday, the 9th of May, 2023. And quickly, I'd like to thank Bobby Joe Hart, who joined me this morning, film director of a wonderful documentary called Fanny, The Right to Rock, which is about an all-female band that started off in the late 60s, early 70s that were the first female band signed to a major label that played their instruments and everything else. So I highly recommend checking out that documentary. It is available in some countries already, and if not, it's going to be by the end of this month. And if this is your first time joining me on my YouTube channel, if you could do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. And if you're over on the Twitch side of things, if you could follow me over there, I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's get to things, as it's been a long time since I've been able to do an international interview during a weekday, but due to some changes in my own personal schedule, I can now accommodate these. So I'm super stoked for this, especially with me being a metalhead. All right, my guest today has been bringing the metal to the masses for decades. He is a founding member of the Swedish death metal legends Vomitory. The band has their first new studio album in 12 years coming out on May 26th on Metal Blade Records called All Heads Are Gonna Roll. It is my great pleasure to welcome to the Eclectic Arts Media virtual studio, Mr. Tobias Gustafsson.
Hey.
Hi, Tobias. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Awesome. So let's talk about, obviously, All Heads Are Gonna Roll, and me being the metalhead that I am. I'm 52 years old. I just have kind of a random mind. Is that title based loosely on the Judas Priest song?
Yes. Well, only the title.
Yeah, because as soon as I saw him, like, I think some heads are going to roll from Defenders of the Faith. So I'm like, I wonder if that has something to do with, influencing the.
Yeah. Yeah, being a Priest fan since childhood, it's a tribute to Judas Priest in a way. But also, I mean, they are singing Some Heads Are Gonna Roll. I think that All Heads Are Gonna Roll is way better.
Yeah, it's more brutal.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about this brand new album that's coming out. I know when you guys got back together or playing the festivals, that at that time it sounded like you were just having fun playing the festivals and there wasn't really going to be new music. And then what kind of switched to get you guys songwriting again and getting into recording a brand new album?
While we were playing all these shows in 2019, every now and then it came up that should we make another album or not? But the plan for the reunion in 2019 was that it was going to be temporary. Do these shows during the 30th anniversary and then put the band back into the grave again. But there was a lot of shows and festivals that we had to turn down, unfortunately, because there simply wasn't enough time for us to fit it in within that year. So we decided to extend this temporary reunion into 2020 to play some more shows. But then the pandemic came and the whole world stopped. So shows got postponed or even canceled, and when we were able to go out and play shows again, it wasn't a 30th anniversary anymore. It was like 33 years. So it didn't make sense to play 30th anniversary shows. So we started talking for real about this. We actually had a band meeting in I think it was July or August of 2021, where we just decided to let's write a couple of songs and see what they sound like and how we feel about everything. And so we did that, and after that we decided that let's make a full album and get the band back on track again, like in the old days.
That's cool. So it sounds like you guys are trying to like kind of test the waters. Just write a couple songs, kind of see how we feel about it, and if it feels good, then this kind of just push forward with a brand new album with the material.
Yeah, but I think that we were all pretty sure that it was going to be good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, obviously for all of us Vomitory fans, it's great that you guys felt that way. You started recording new songs and that came out really well. And it sounds like the process for this new album, that when you're working on the material and kind of getting the tracks recorded, that you had the luxury of not being stuck with like having to spend a lot of time in a proper studio, in the sense of paying all that money for that time, that you could maybe do some stuff pre-production wise and then kind of figure out what are we doing recording wise. Is that right?
No, actually, we were on a very strict schedule, even though we were in our own rehearsal place recording the instruments, because actually we had planned to start the recording 1 month earlier, but we needed some more time to finish the last things and prepare everything. So that made our schedule even tighter, you know. So we had to be very disciplined during the days when we recorded, and it was a bit stressful at times, but we made it in the end. We managed to squeeze in some extra days and some extra hours here and there to finish some unfinished things. I mean, I needed some more days for the drum tracks than I usually have. I'm usually done in 3 or 4 days with the drums. Now I needed at least 5 and 5.5 or something like that. So we had to reschedule the tight schedule a couple of times, but once the instruments were recorded, we were pretty safe, because then we moved the recording of the vocals to a proper studio, Leon Music Studios, where we recorded our previous 3 albums, and things went pretty smooth there, because Eric had everything prepared pretty well with the vocals and everything. So it worked quite smooth.
Okay, so yeah, apologies for getting that wrong. But also that
you couldn't know.
But let's see if I get this right. Did you guys produce this yourselves?
Well, it depends on what you mean by producing. In producing as arranging everything and how the song structures should be and everything like that. Yeah, we did it ourselves. We always did that ourselves. But yeah, if people are referring to production producing as the actual sound on the album, that's more the mixing part, and that was done by Lawrence McRory at Rory Sound Studios.
Yeah. Okay, so it's I might be half right then with that one. I'm just kind of curious that I know for the the history of the band, that you've had a major part in the songwriting. And so, like with this new album, was that also the case where you're kind of predominantly doing a lot of the songwriting, the other guys are kind of working on some of the parts with you? Or how do you take any particular song off the album, in the title track? How do you guys come up with your songwriting process nowadays?
Yeah, for me, it's basically the same as it always has been. It starts with a riff or an idea of a couple of riffs that I have, and start working around that. And then halfway I get stuck and frustrated, and then I work on it and try all the bad solutions first, like going full circle with doing all kinds of writing bad stuff, and then finally I find out how it's going to be. So I write when I compose music. I write a song completely finished with everything except for guitar solos, but guitar like melodies or whatever you want to call it, and with the bass line and everything. And I know which parts should have vocals, and I have a rough idea how the vocal structure should be as well.
Okay, that's interesting. So you're hearing all the pieces in your head then as you're composing a song then.
Yeah.
And then like you said, the guitarist will put in the guitar leads later, kind of a thing, but like what this blueprint looks and should sound like.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm picturing you then like sitting, like you said, you come up with riffs. You're sitting with a guitar, coming up with some riffs, and then do you start, just as in your head, are you starting to hear the bass line, hearing the drum parts, all these kind of things? Or I'm just curious, being a musician myself, I'm always curious how people kind of put their songs together.
Yeah. Well, obviously I hear the drums when I come up with something. Many times I come up with the drum parts first, or the beat. Sometimes when I'm sitting behind the kit and I'm just improvising, playing whatever comes to my mind. Sometimes a riff pops up in my head while I'm playing, and this could be a cool thing. Then I try to, if I don't have a guitar nearby, I either write it down, my idea, or I sing it into my cell phone to remember it for later, and then I pick it out on the guitar to see if it's a good idea or if it sucks.
Okay, well, no, that's great that you're having like different ideas, and like you said, that you could be messing around with your drum kit, and then like a riff starts coming to your mind, like, oh, this might work with this kind of thing. So let's maybe put it down so I don't forget it later. And I think every musician can relate to that, when you've had this killer idea in your head and then you forgot about it later. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed, at least for me, listening to the tracks on the new album, was that not only is the production really good, but there's some little bit more, not variance. I mean, it still sounds like Vomitory, but there's a little bit more emphasis, maybe like on the chorusing on the songs. Is that something you guys are like intentionally trying to do?
Yes, absolutely. You're definitely right there. That was something that we decided very early on, before we actually started the writing for real. Well, we did those 2 songs, but we decided that we were going to put some more effort into making stronger choruses, more distinct choruses, more recognizable than we've had in the past. Maybe less lyrics in the chorus to make them more memorable and so on. And I think that we pulled that off really well, and a lot of that is thanks to Eric's work with the vocals, and how he phrased the vocals and how he arranged it, and how he also did some overdubs with the backing backing vocals on certain places, which was really, really cool.
Okay. Oh, that's great, because it's definitely noticeable on the tracks that you guys are spending some extra time on that. So it worked.
Cool.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to one of the songs in particular that I really thought stood out, which is "Raped, Strangled, Sodomized, Dead." That song, I mean, if that's not made into a music video at some point, there's like a missed opportunity, because it stands out so much from the album in terms of it's just everything about it just works. And so I'm curious, what can you tell me about that particular song?
Well, it's written in its entirety. Oh, never mind. Eric wrote that song, both music and lyrics. And I think first when he presented the song to the band, it was like, whoa, is this a Vomitory song? And we were, because since it's quite melodic and has a slightly different style than the typical Vomitory song, but we all liked it. It was a great song, and we found pretty soon that this one has to be on the album, because it's a killer song, and it's a somewhat new thing to present to our fans, but still it is a Vomitory song for sure. So yeah, it's a cool part of the album, and it definitely has its place in there, I think.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you guys decided to move forward with that song and didn't think, well, it's not quite us yet, but then to me it's still in the ballpark of Vomitory. It may not be like up against like it's still there.
Yeah, it is.
And you're right, there's definitely some melodic threads going through it, which might be for some fans a little different, but it's, again, you hear that, I mean, it's still killer. I mean, it's still a really killer song. And so yeah, I'm glad that you. And the other song for me that I was listening to just earlier today actually was "Ode to Meat Saw." And especially like when you get to like that 1 minute 50-second mark, when you can't help but just start thrashing and banging when you hear that riffing going on. What can you tell me about that particular track?
Well, it's also written by Eric. It's a really heavy, and in many ways our love for Bolt Thrower shines through in this one. There's some really Bolt Thrower influenced stuff in there, which is great. One of the best death metal bands ever, in my opinion, and in Eric's opinion as well. So yeah, it's what else can I say about it? I agree with you. It's hard to not, start headbanging when you hear that song, and it's probably a song that we're going to play live. I would say.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great to have that in the live set. And since you mentioned that, these two songs that we're talking about, that Eric wrote them, how's that for you when you come up with the drum parts for a song that he wrote?
He gives me pretty free, freedom to do whatever I want, but still he has an basic idea on how he wants the drums to be. When he writes, he makes a demo of it with the programmed drums, so there is at least something to so you get an idea of what kind of feeling he's after in the song. But when it comes to fills and such things, I do more or less whatever I want.
Okay, all right. And how do you feel your your drumming's progressed over the years, especially being a death metal drummer, because that's a lot of stamina, it's a lot of stuff on your forearms, your wrists.
Yeah.
Are you feeling like you're better than ever? Are you kind of like, I've developed other influences into my style of playing? Because I mean, you're a tremendous drummer, so I'd love to hear how you feel about things in 2023.
Thank you. Well, first of all, you're never really satisfied with with your own drumming, but I would say I'm a lot more confident now than I was. Like, for instance, when we split up Vomitory in 2013, I'm a lot more confident now, which feels great. I don't bash myself as much nowadays, but that probably has to do with, you know, age and experience, and not giving a shit as much as I did. Yeah, I'm always trying to progress as a drummer. I've discovered during the last year now that I have lost a little bit of my stamina, especially in my left hand. I'm a right-handed drummer. So my left is my weak hand. So I'm currently working pretty hard to get it back to where it once was. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's I played drums a while ago. I'm mainly a guitar player, but I did play drums, and right-handed drummer as well. So it's like, especially for me at least, if I don't keep up with it, my stamina skills, I mean, it's much harder than like if I didn't play my guitar for a while and I grab it, I can kind of get back to the guitar pretty quick. Drums,
yeah.
It's like it's a whole physical beast, I think, and it's just like, damn. So it's interesting that you're going to be working, to get the stamina back with the left hand, and but even like with your right hand, when you're using your ride cymbal, I mean, especially for death metal drummers, I mean, you're like, it's so many beats per minute that you're doing on that kind of thing. Your wrist is holding up okay and everything.
Yeah. My right hand is doing just fine.
Okay, and I know that, so you have a music video out for the title track that's been out, and then it sounds like I just heard you have a new music video dropping tomorrow. Is that correct?
Maybe.
Okay. I saw something about May 10th, and they just said like coming, and they had the times and everything for it. So it sounds like there's something else dropping from the new album.
Yeah, something is happening tomorrow.
Okay, well, we'll find out tomorrow then what that is. But speaking of the title track and that music video, what can you tell me about the shoot for the title track music video that came out recently?
The shoot?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one day of shooting the live stuff in a theater kind of venue on the stage there. And then there was the other guys doing the animation. I don't know the name actually of the animation artist, unfortunately. But they for sure did a killer job. Well, that's basically what I can say about it. Well, the idea, the script, so to speak, was that was all Eric's idea, with the story and everything, and so yeah, that was a very cool idea.
Okay, yeah, I think it represents the new album well. It just like come out and just be this statement of like, this is what the album's going to be like, and there's no fucking around. It's like, boom.
Exactly.
we're back with our new studio album after 12 years, so get ready. And that obviously brings it, especially being a metal band. Are there any plans to tour?
Yeah, we're doing this summer. We're doing some festivals in Europe, in Germany, Czech Republic, Netherlands, Belgium. What else? Finland, and a couple more. And then in September, we'll go out on a big European tour for a month, together with some other bands that I cannot reveal just yet. And after that, we'll play at Mexico Metal Fest in Monterrey. And there are also plans for a tour in Asia in November, but it's not quite finished. I'm not sure how it goes, but that's the plan at least. And then we have a couple more like one-off shows. For the next year, what we have planned so far is our first US show in, what is it, 15 years or something? No, it's more. We've only played once in the US before, and that was in 2007 at Maryland Death Fest. So we're returning to Maryland Death Fest in Baltimore next year.
Nice.
And we will see. Well, hopefully we can do some more US shows eventually. We have to do that.
Yeah, please. If we can make it happen, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it would be awesome. I really want it to happen too, so I'm crossing my fingers.
So am I. Maybe we'll get lucky that some other shows can be built around that Maryland Death Fest appearance, either before or after. Since you're already going to be over here, it's like, why not do another couple weeks if you can, and just hit the main cities and bring Vomitory back to the U.S. That'd be amazing. Before we kind of wrap this up, I want to ask you a couple of just general questions that are definitely hot topics here in the U.S. At least. I don't know about over in Sweden and over in Europe, but one of them is about the merch cuts that venues are taking from bands. Taking that 20% or 30%, and it's become a real issue over here. Do you have any opinions on that yourself, or how are things over there in your neck of the woods when it comes to clubs doing that?
Yeah, they're starting to do it more and more here as well. And I think it's 100% bullshit. Why should they take cuts from our merch? Then we should take cuts from their bar.
Exactly.
It makes absolutely no sense. If they provide a person that can sell our merchandise, that's a whole different thing. Then I would agree on giving them a cut. Of course, that's the only right thing to do. But just to get a cut from our merch sales for absolute no reason, that's fucking bullshit. I hate it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I don't know how many times I've been at clubs here where, they're not even provided a folding table for. They got to bring everything and have their person going to sell, and then you're supposed to give 20% to the club for doing absolutely nothing. It makes no sense.
Exactly. No.
So imagine going into some place and saying, I'm just going to stand here, and now you're going to give me 20% of what you make as a restaurant. And you're not fucking doing anything. It's like, why would we do that?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
That's crazy. Well, that sucks. It's starting to get more prevalent over there. Just like over here, it's like I actually have to talk to some of the bands. It's like, so are they taking a percentage because maybe we need to pay for this outside the club, or I need to give you a tip under the table, or I got to do something because I don't want this going to the club. I want it going to the band.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, geez. And the other thing, which is I don't think it's so prevalent in death metal, but there's definitely a big issue going on with backing tracks when people are playing live, especially even in the metal community. What's your general take on backing tracks when people play live?
Well, as a how do you say, supplement to the music, if you have if you don't have a keyboard player, but you have in the band, but you have some, keyboard tracks on your album recording, sure, use backing tracks, no problem whatsoever. But when bands start to replace an actual member on stage, that's something else. That's not cool. That's not rock and roll.
Okay, so you and I are in agreement then that you don't want to replace your bass player with a MacBook. or
No, no. What's the point in playing live then? No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, well, no, we're a band. We play live. We all work on our instruments to get good, and that's why we rehearse. We get out there and we play live, and not have some button getting pressed over here to replace something
No.
or enhance it. Okay, cool. And before I let you go, this actually came up in another interview a couple years ago, and I didn't have an answer for it, so maybe you can shed some light on it. I had another guest who was from Sweden, and they're in like an album-oriented rock band, and someone put a comment saying, how come so many European guests speak better English than most Americans? And I assume it's taught in schools, or what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, we start learning English quite early in school, but also a very important thing is that we don't have we always have subtitles on American and English TV shows and movies. So there are no replaced voices. Like in Germany, for instance, they have Brad Pitt speaking German in the movies. And also I think Sweden has always been quite influenced by the US in many aspects. The popular culture when it comes to music and movies, different trends, skateboards, or whatever it is. So I think it comes quite natural for most kids here, and especially these days when you have YouTube and kids are spending hours and hours on their cell phones every day, and they watch other people playing video games, and they speak English and without subtitles, so they pick it up from there as well, I think. But for me, it was TV and movies, reading the subtitles and hearing the original voices, but also reading a lot of lyrics to the music I was listening to. That was very, very. I learned a lot from that, because all of a sudden you read a word that you don't understand, so you have to look it up to understand the meaning of the lyrics. So yeah, that was also a very big help for me to learn English.
Okay, well, thank you for shedding some light on that, because I didn't even think about, as you're listening to your favorite new album, that you'd be looking through the lyrics and you're kind of like, well, okay, now I'm understanding what they're saying, but what's this word mean? Or like you said, that the subtitles on the TVs and movies, that they don't take out replace the voices with like a Swedish speaking Brad Pitt or something. So there's all these different aspects in addition to learning it in school that kind of reinforces all of these things. Okay, now I know I can say back to that first, because I don't know. That's actually a really good question, because I mean, even like I've had guests on who their vocabulary in English is better than mine. So I'm kind of like, what's going on here? Oh man, that's awesome. Well, Tobias, thank you so much for taking the time, and the new album's fucking killer. And I'm so glad that you guys are back with a new studio album. And it sounds like, some touring plans are there, at least for the summer. And hopefully we'll see how it happens with the US for next year.
Yes.
Yeah, I wish you every success with the album and the tour and everything else. And thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night over there.
Yeah, thanks. You too.